Erika Donalds is here, the chair of the Education Opportunity for America First Policy Institute. Great to see you, Erika. And especially on these topics, I think for maybe a few years now, you and I have spoke about men competing in women's sports, biological boys being allowed to enter women's spaces, restrooms, locker rooms. Here we are today, the Supreme Court taking up this, hearing oral arguments. What are you hopeful for today?
Well, we hope that this ends the issue once and for all, upholds the original intention of Title IX, which gives girls opportunities in sports, keeps them safe in their locker rooms from young men and boys. And that was the original intent. I was a high school basketball player, and frankly, I had never played basketball before in my life. If there was an opportunity for a boy to play on that team, they would have taken my spot. And you know what? That would have really demotivated me from even coming to school. And there are thousands of girls like that across our country. But it's not even just about motivation and opportunity to play. It's also about injury. We've seen life-threatening injuries happen when boys who are more powerful, are faster, have greater strength than girls just biologically, are really harming these girls. One that was highlighted by Trump almost a year ago in his State of the Union address. So it is about safety, but it's also about opportunity and the rights of young women to have their scholarships, their spaces, and their sports that was intended by Title IX in the first place.
You mentioned Title IX. I want to show you this. The West Virginia Civil Liberties Union saying that there is, of course, no threat posed by Becky Pepper Jackson to women in West Virginia sports. We're a state of 1.8 million people, and there is one single trans girl in this state who wants to play sports with her friends. She doesn't represent a threat to the existence of women's sports in any way. Sadly, all of this stuff is about politics. Do you see any problem with what was stated?
We don't make policy for one person. We make it for the masses. And frankly, the American people disagree. Over 70% of the American people believe that women should be allocated their own sports based on biology. Not just that, but 27 states, including West Virginia, have passed laws that say it has to be a biological girl who is participating in girls' sports. So we cannot make laws because we feel bad for one young man who wants to play in women's sports. We have to make them for the masses, and we have to uphold Title IX.
Finally, from a political perspective, this is really a hot button issue, or is it, I wonder? I mentioned this earlier in the broadcast that this is somewhat of an 80-20, 90-10 issue, if you will. Is it that?
It absolutely is. And it's not just for Republicans, which actually support this 94% of Republicans at one of the latest polls, but even Democrats, nearly 70% of Democrats believe that girls should play only with biological girls. But of course, the politics is such that the Democrats are leaning into their far left base and the progressivism that has really taken over their party, but they've lost the message here, especially when people who have daughters, like I know you do, dads are now out there defending their daughters, and they've actually created a bipartisan coalition that we're seeing in front of the Supreme Court today of former Democrats, former progressive, lesbians, homosexuals, all coming together with conservatives to say enough is enough.
I chuckle because we had the live shot the entire morning of outside the Supreme Court, and I noticed that because when I take a live shot, when our producers take a live shot, typically it's those on the left that are the radical left, right, the other side of the 80-20 issue, and it's not in this moment. It's people that are there with seemingly common sense that are protecting women's spaces. The shot went down. So I can't show it to you now, but you just have to trust me, unless you saw it earlier, but there are people out there. They're there by the drove supporting women's spaces. Show me that map, because I want to make this point. The 27 states here that ban transgender students in sports. You can write this in different ways. I was reading the New York Times this morning about this article, and it says that the Trump administration continues to target the transgender community. You can write that differently. The Trump administration continues to try to protect women in women's sports and women's spaces. Why is this such a divide, do you think?
Well, the media has done a lot to divide the people. Of course, it's the clicks and the headlines. And it doesn't go with what is common sense, unfortunately. And Trump is not against transgender people, right? He is against men invading women's spaces and making sports unsafe for our young girls, right? You cannot have a man who is so much stronger spiking a ball, hitting a young lady in the head where she has critical brain injuries. This has happened. Not to mention the 1,000 or so trophies that have been taken away from girls and given to young men because they have a physical advantage. You're talking about scholarships. This is common sense. And the media wants to sensationalize it. They want to make victims out of people, and they want to blame Trump for everything. Yeah. But I think the Supreme Court is going to decide in favor of Title IX and in favor of girls and their safety.
Wild time, because thinking about what would be argued, biology is going to be argued of men, and women, boys, and girls in front of the Supreme Court. And unfortunately and fortunately, it has to be. Erika Donald's joining us. Thank you. We're out of time. We do appreciate it, Erika.
Thank you so much for having me, always.